Okay, let's see here. We got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds to go time.
Yeah.
Let's see. 30 seconds. Okay. Melissa, music is cute. Susan, sorry.
Oh, shoot. Somebody's
Okay.
calling. Hold on. I have to turn this off.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Where it's coming from.
Okay, music's ready to go. Let's go live in 10 seconds.
Trying to get this off.
I look like hell today. I got no sleep. Okay, wait. Let's see. Hey, everybody. All right, here we go.
And the award goes to Mainstream Media for protecting us all from reality. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
If I told you that there was a company called Palantir and their entire existence was to hear your whispers so they could predict what you would do next? Now, what if I told you it was backed by the founder of PayPal and the CIA? What if I told you Palantir was quietly connected to your bank statements, social media, medical records, and a lot more? Then what if I told you their entire purpose was to understand and blueprint your life so they could predict exactly what you do next? If you want to know what that's called, it's called behavior surveillance, like that grocery receipt from the time you went to the store at 11 p.m. We can't forget about that sudden change in your jogging pattern outside. They won't. Or your 3 a.m. Google search. You see, Palantir sends your personality anomalies directly to the government because you unknowingly gave them that right in the terms and agreements that you didn't read. Palantir isn't just surveillance, it's predictive governance. Control the data, control the decisions. Well, at that point, you can basically control anyone without them knowing that you're doing so. Palantir wasn't profitable for the first 17 years, and now their net worth is the same as Bank of America. And like I said, you gave them this ability when you did terms and agreements and didn't read it, gym memberships, and most of the smart devices that are in your home. Palantir is no longer a company. It is now a digital nervous system that takes care of the oh so fragile and insecure American people. The next time your thoughts shift or a news cycle tells you what to believe, ask yourself, is this really my decision?
All right. Well, that was creepy. Gosh. I have to laugh because it's so bad. It's so bad. If you really want to know what's going on in the world, all you have to do is say the word Palantir. A lot of things are distractions to Palantir. So, welcome to the show, Kate Daly Show, at your service today. And of course, this is my Lovely Lady Wednesday, and I've got some lovely ladies for you. We've got a lot of content to go over. Susan's going to be first up today. And let me just say, right out of the gate, thank you for all the messages. Yes, I'm a little bombarded, but I really love it, and keep it coming. You can text me. I do look at the texts. I look at every single one. It's time consuming, but I do it. And the number is 435 680 2503, 435 680 2503. And you can text or call. And Susan is first up today. We're going to play a Candace clip. We've got a lot to talk about. And so glad that you're with me, Susan. How are you?
Hey, this is a great week. I know we've got a lot of really intense things to talk about,
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
excited.
Oh, man, do we? It just every day seems intense right now, you know? So, where do you want to start?
We can start with Candace Owens.
Okay. All right.
And it's actually Ben Shapiro who just donated $1 million to Turning Point. And you can watch it live. They have a video of it, sorry, a video. And he said, I understand Charlie Kirk had two objectives, one of which is to bring people to Christ, and the other is to grow essentially the MAGA movement. And he said, we're going to be donating from his organization to Turning Point $1 million. Now, there is talk of Ben Shapiro taking over Turning Point, and Candace Owens is kind of going to war on this point.
Okay. Okay, can you get a little closer to the mic just a little bit? Thank you so much.
Sure.
And
Yes.
okay, thank you. Okay, let me play this clip because Candace used a really interesting word in this clip that I really have never heard her say, which could be explained. It was just an odd choice. So I know you guys will hear it. Okay, here's Candace. Here's a 1 minute clip. You want me to play this now?
Sure. That'd be
Okay,
great.
here we go.
That you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Masons. Interesting.
You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me. Okay. And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages. I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it. Okay. Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair, okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged.
Wow. I hadn't listened to that before. So,
boy.
wow is all I have to
Over-
say on that one.
Yeah. And because, Candace Owens used to work for Charlie Kirk, for Ben Shapiro's organization. And then when she started questioning Israel's approach to what was going on in Gaza, they parted ways. And I don't think under the best of circumstances. And then Candace, of course, has now gained, I think, close to 5 million of her own viewers on YouTube and her podcasts. But people have been very alarmed at the fact that it looks like maybe Ben Shapiro is going to be taking over Charlie Kirk's organization or wants to or slide into that. And people have been reposting some of Ben Shapiro's old posts. He was very, very pro-vaccine, and he posted, this was back in February of 2015, spent the day watching my fully vaccinated 13-month-old cough until it blew with pertussis because others didn't get vaccinated. Thanks, Dolts. Like he didn't get the fact that he thought that because other people weren't vaccinated, his child got sick with pertussis, even though his child was. And then he also posted something that it actually
This is Shapiro that you're talking about.
Ben Shapiro, yes.
Okay.
And I think this is what Candace is alluding to when she says, I will start releasing text messages, including her text messages with Charlie Kirk, of whom she was very close, but especially of Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro had put out, I would gladly waive the born in USA requirement for presidency for Bibi Netanyahu, meaning Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of chatter about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu quickly announced that Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. Candace Owens talked about a meeting that and a phone call with Bibi Netanyahu that Charlie Kirk had. Charlie Kirk felt under huge pressure from one of the billionaires close to Bibi Netanyahu to take the money to change his views back to what they were, 100% supporting Israel. Charlie Kirk was very uncomfortable with the direction Israel was now taking. And so there was a lot of pressure being put on him. So Candace feels very like, I'm going to speak the truth. I know the truth of what was going on behind the scenes. And this is going to be over my dead body, which can be arranged. And I thought, wow, she knows what's at stake. She's putting her life on the line to make this point. And I think she's connected to reality on this. She's not just imagining that there's a plan that Ben Shapiro wants to take over or be the head icon of Turning Point. And I don't know what Ben Shapiro's thinking, because bringing people into Christ is really one of the points of Turning Point. Is that what Ben's up to, or having somebody step into that? So this
I
is,
wouldn't think so with Ben, but
yeah,
yeah. So one of our listeners is putting messages on StreamYard and made a point. And I have to ask the same question. I have been asking the same questions because it's hard for me to trust anything anymore. But do you think this could be another smokescreen to explain the shooting?
um,
Maybe.
there's a lot of theories.
Yeah.
Yes, there is that
Hmm.
Israeli theory. But I think they were in the process of trying to almost, he felt, Candace came up with, he felt almost blackmailed. And maybe I've heard so many people talking, it may have been Tucker Carlson, it may have been Megyn Kelly who said that.
Hmm.
But one of them, and maybe it was Megyn Kelly, said he felt blackmailed. Megyn Kelly felt close to him. She'd had him on the show like 15 times
Right.
and really felt that he was capturing the essence of the youth. He was in that generation at 31,
Hmm.
and he knew that the big thing that he was really transitioning towards
Hmm.
was changing the economic understanding of what needs to happen, that you can't have these big companies like BlackRock coming in and buying up all new housing, because it is pricing people out of housing, it's pricing the next generation out of housing.
Hmm.
And so his big argument, yes, turning people to Christ, but also addressing these major economic problems, which was almost starting to sound a bit like Bernie Sanders, but with different solutions. Like, the young people are going to be only renters. They don't want to be only renters.
Hmm.
And so this was Charlie Kirk's new emphasis, that you can't have the social and spiritual stability if underlying it is this horrible
Hmm.
economic reality for this up and coming generation. And to hear Charlie Kirk talk on the Tucker Carlson show back in July, I
Hmm.
listened to that whole episode.
Hmm.
He was really getting the economics of it. Now, to me, I was a family sciences major in college,
Hmm.
and a huge part of that was economics, how the economics affects the family. And I think he was really latched onto this, and I think he was right. So
Well.
I think that could be a huge emphasis, that there's
Hmm.
these powerful entities, some of richer than banks, that want to commandeer the American economy and
Hmm.
make it be people are renters. And he was saying, no, that just can't
Right.
be possible, because because it won't create enough spiritual and economic stability for the class of people who need to have families, who want to have young families. They brought up the point, and I didn't know this, that in just a few years ago, the average age of a first-time home buyer was 30, and now it's 38.
Interesting.
You're like middle age.
Same with parents. Their age went up too. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And marriage is like up to 30. But I think young people look at it and they're like, well, if we can't afford it, if we can't even afford to live. And I love when Charlie Kirk says, have more children than you can
Hmm.
afford. I love
Hmm.
when he would say that.
Hmm.
And I think that was really, really inspired of him.
Right. Well, I'm getting a lot of like incoming, of course. You can phones blowing up and also messages in general to Kate at katedalleyradio.com and so many people are thinking that when we get to the evidence, like the shot came from the side. That's why people were looking to the left, which would be Charlie's right, that it was not from the behind building. People would have been looking behind them, and that kid is for sure a patsy. I think people are kind of more coming to that conclusion more than not. Where the shot came from is still out, still out there and kind of a little bit wild, to talk about, but it makes a little more sense that it came from the left since everybody looked to the left. I did have friends there. And the one thing I just wanted to get into today's show and just mention was if you, and this is coming from my paramedic friend, if you hit the carotid artery, you could have bled out in 90 seconds. It could be very, very quick. And there's also posturing that takes place. when you're hitting certain areas of the body, and he did have those movements when you're hitting certain areas of the body that would be a little hard to fake. So, so
Yes.
I thought that was kind of interesting, the posturing, that where his arms went when you're
Where
hit.
his
Mhm.
fists turned in and
Right.
curled, and that
Yes.
is a reflex that
Right.
you can't control, and it does indicate that the
Right.
brain stem was impacted and or the catastrophic injury like that.
Yes.
Uh, and
So.
it's interesting because there were all these rumors that they'd gotten a pulse. I
Mhm.
listened to the man who was there in the white cap. He wasn't actually part of the security. His name was Dr. Frank Turek,
Mhm.
and he was part of Turning Point, and he was videoing with his phone. And he was one of the people who ended up in the car with Charlie Kirk. And he said, Charlie's eyes were fixed in the car. They couldn't close the door because he was so long.
Mhm.
And so they had to go 4 miles at top speed with the car door open to the side.
Mhm.
Um, and Frank Turek was in the back. But he said that when they got there, they were working on him and they did get a pulse back, but that's
Mhm.
only because they were able to kind of get his heart massaged with drugs and artificial means. But they couldn't sustain that. And they said that was only because he was in such fantastic condition that they could get his body parts essentially restarted. But Frank Turek said,
Mhm.
Charlie was like a fourth son to him.
Mhm.
And he said he said you could tell. He said, I gave him mouth to mouth, but you could tell his spirit was gone.
Mhm.
His body was there, his eyes were fixed. You could tell his spirit was gone. So there was nothing to really work on or bring back. They did that artificially. But
Mhm.
that was an interesting eyewitness. And he said he thought the shot was much closer. When he said
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
found out how far away it was,
Sure.
he said, I thought the shot was much closer. And, independent investigator George Webb, who goes to the sites, who walks the paths, who he said he went and he made a video of standing in the different possible perches of
Mhm.
where a sniper might be off to Charlie's right. And it makes sense to me that that was a potential area. Investigative reporter Emerald Robinson, who is well regarded, said, that there's questions about the gun. There's questions about they haven't come up with a bullet. The bullets didn't necessarily, there's just all these questions. She said that
Mhm.
things are not fitting. And she is a very well regarded investigative journalist, Emerald Robinson. So it's fascinating to see the actual sites. I wanted to say something actually about the site of the shooting.
Mhm.
So my deceased husband, Kevin Reeve, spent 30 years doing survival, but especially urban survival.
Mhm.
And he wanted to know how people survive incidences where there's mass chaos. It can be shootings, it can be a catastrophic event like an earthquake, but in an urban environment.
Mhm.
And he had a protocol that if there is a shooter and you have a general idea where it's coming from, a general idea, that you move it to at a right angle to wherever
Mhm.
that shooting is. Now, people, what did they do? They went and ran away and jumped in their cars and then sat in traffic for 2 hours, sat there.
Mhm.
Now, that is not a safe space to be, sitting in an open car in traffic. It just isn't.
Mhm.
If you had any training at all, you would know that you would need to keep moving,
Mhm.
move at a right angle,
Mhm.
and then move as far away as possible. Get to be, half a mile away. And that would have meant moving away from that amphitheater area. And
Mhm.
a lot of people could have gone through buildings. You don't want to be out exposed like in a parking lot. You don't want to be in the middle of a baseball field. You
Mhm.
want to stay where there is cover. I would have gone into a neighborhood. I would have knocked on a door.
Mhm.
Maybe people who would have understood would have let you in, that not out in the open and not sitting in a car. Do you remember that in the Hamas raid into Israel, a lot of those concert goers jumped in their cars and fled, got stuck in traffic,
Mhm.
and then what happened? Terrorists walked up to the cars and executed people. So it's a good thing to remember that people are not trained to know what to do in a situation like that, and they
Mm-hmm.
consider, I'm going to go get my car and drive away.
Mm-hmm.
You're pinned in traffic. That is
Mm-hmm.
not what you need. You need to have a better plan.
Okay.
And that plan should probably be on foot unless your car
Mm-hmm.
is parked, or plan on parking your car,
Mm-hmm.
half a mile to a mile away. And then if something happens, or just to be out of traffic in general, if nothing happens, you can walk to your car and
Mm-hmm.
leave. So it's a different mindset, and people need to think about that. I need a plan. I
Mm-hmm.
need a plan A, a
Right.
plan B, a plan C.
It's
And
it's a decoder. I'm going to say it wrong. Decodercate the posturing that he did, and so
yeah,
for for everyone that's kind of there's camps of people, and he's still alive, and then of course it was a shooting, but it wasn't that guy. It was an inside job, which I do believe is an inside job. That the shot also, there's video where it looks like the shooter and the blast are coming from the inside of the building. I'm going through text right now, 435-680-2503, if you want to text in, but 435-680-2503. So there's lots of people sort of now looking at everything saying, look, it came from the back and it came from the right side. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm glad that it got past the alleged shooter, because I just can't even understand how that guy is even feasible in this whole story, because it just doesn't look that way. Even when what he's wearing underneath flaps, it looks like it almost came in from the side because it flaps and then goes through his neck, right?
yes, yes,
Or
absolutely.
out his neck. I don't know,
And
from the side. So
and
interesting.
and it's a more logical shot because
Mm-hmm.
that amphitheater is sunken, and that building was higher up, and he was
Mm-hmm.
under a canopy.
Yeah.
And so he was sitting at the lowest part of that amphitheater, and to shoot down and then
Mm-hmm.
under a canopy makes it seems like, wow, that would be intense. Now they've come out with all the text messages allegedly on Discord, which, by the way, Discord, an app where gamers go on, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
has gotten obliterated. Like chats have gone missing now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Somebody attacked Discord, but people were pointing out that the conversation between the so-called two men, the boyfriend in transition, who was
Mm-hmm.
his friend, his roommate, and then the alleged shooter, are these complete sentences with punctuation in Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the younger generation is saying none of our generation communicates like that. Complete sentences with punctuation and grammar, um, and no abbreviations, no, all of the online
Mm-hmm.
abbreviations that the kids use. It's almost indecipherable sometimes if you've ever read it.
Right.
And yet here it comes out in these beautifully English perfect complete sentences with punctuation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my kids don't text like that. My kids are,
No, they sound totally illiterate.
yes,
My
exactly.
husband
Well,
and
in
I laugh
fact,
about it all the time. I'm like, you have to almost go illiterate just to even understand anybody on text anymore.
yeah, like, what does this sound like to you? What do you think he's saying here?
Oh,
Exactly.
goodness.
And
Yeah.
people are bringing up that he's used, my love. He used the
Mm-hmm.
term my love, referencing addressing
Yeah.
his roommate and boyfriend, girlfriend. And
Oh, they're just,
people are romanticizing that. It's just like so bizarre.
I
So
know. People
I,
are getting into into the details of that to try to make that work, and it just doesn't work. And there's just too many things. There's so many things. It's kind of like Lee Harvey Oswald. There's just too many things to actually go in that direction. So you kind of got to go in another direction. And this other direction, it's kind of cut into camps now. So one person's asking me when was my podcast with him. I interviewed him, I think it was in June, the latter part of June, might even been around the 26th, 27th, 28th, somewhere in there. I had that interview with him, and you can look it up. It was last year, so 6/06 of 24, and all you got to do is type in Kate Daly Radio, Charlie Kirk, and usually the episode pops up. So just so you guys know, getting a lot of messages. They even had an old DJ says they even had an old man decoy who even turned out to have Charlie Kirk on his phone. I think there was a lot of decoys. Even you saw the George, right? That happens to show up at false flags, even 9/11, and claim that he's got something to do with it. Why was George on site? It was really George Zinn, I think is his name. Did you see that?
George
The first
Finn,
guy?
George Finn.
The first guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the
Mhm.
alleged people who confessed, yes,
Yeah.
had child POR, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just wonder why it's these characters, almost like a play. Here's the same
Mm-hmm.
characters, and what are the
Yeah.
odds of that?
Right. Oh, and
But
someone's agreeing with you as well on text. Why would we be texting in the process of evading the police while you're changing clothes and disassembling whatever you have or whatever you're doing? That's an awful lot of stuff to happen for a suspect when you shoot and you're nervous and you've got a crowd of people and you don't want to get caught and you're basically giving out a sonnet. So in text,
yeah,
yeah.
A friend of my son's, his roommate, actually,
Mm-hmm.
when he was doing an internship, was there like 20 feet away and said it was absolutely horrific, horrific. And,
Mm-hmm.
the news media had no qualms about
Mm-hmm.
just splashing it. It is, I know my sleep has been disturbed. I've had nightmares ever since.
Wow.
Every day I wake up remembering that I've had a nightmare. And that has to be the case for a lot of people. And I can't imagine the eyewitnesses. So we are dealing with a generational trauma to have watched that
Mm-hmm.
and for them to, really,
Mm-hmm.
people shouldn't watch it over and over again because it really does have an effect on you.
Yeah.
But somebody said, suddenly it doesn't seem so shocking that the crowd would cheer for the release of Barabbas, a criminal murderer, while condemning Jesus, the man who peacefully spoke the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they're cheering the fact that he was executed, and yet this Mangione kid who shot the United Healthcare executive has just had two of the more serious charges removed for him. The murder charge still stands, but domestic terrorism charge has been dropped, and there was
Mm-hmm.
another charge dropped by the judge, and they're cheering for him, cheering. And so, it's just you couldn't believe it when you read about it in the scriptures, like they would cheer for that. Now we're seeing it in real time. One of the more interesting
Mm-hmm.
observations that I've been following
Mm-hmm.
is Scott Adams. So
Mm-hmm.
Scott Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert, has been running a podcast for these X number of years. And
I know
he,
him. I was on his podcast.
yeah, oh great. So he is
Mm-hmm.
a trained hypnotist. His mother was a hypnotist. And he says when you see hypnotism, you understand people's behaviors. So these people who came out on publicly on the news or in their professors and
Mm-hmm.
whomever
Mm-hmm.
have gotten put on leave, suspended, fired. He said what's interesting about them is that they really thought that they wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
fired or punished, that they felt completely confident in saying what they said, that they are living in what he calls the Hitlerian bubble, is that they believe the truth, that they believe totally that Trump is Hitler. They have heard it, they believe it. He said they're literally hypnotized into believing this, which is the reason they have so
Mm-hmm.
confidently celebrated and then put their careers at risk. They are living in a bubble. He said there's only a small percentage of people who will wake up to the fact of, oh my gosh, look what we've done. We essentially murdered an innocent person.
Mm-hmm.
People like Scott, who
Mm-hmm.
went back, looked at the alleged quotes that Charlie Kirk is alleged to have made.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, they're not true. They had a context. Even the New York Times had to reverse itself, where he said that he was I'm trying to remember. Oh, I think it was in the context of Black women,
Mm-hmm.
saying all Black women. It was something derogatory. He was speaking specifically about the Chief Justice, the
Mm-hmm.
Supreme Court Justice. And, you know, you take a, it, he literally didn't say the words that they printed that he said, but it is
Mm-hmm.
a hypnotizing force to people.
Mm.
And it's gone on and on and on. And he said, I don't know that we can get a large portion of those people back, because
Interesting.
when you show them the truth,
Mm-hmm.
it only creates cognitive dissonance, and they come down harder
So
on their own
here's a
opinion.
comment. The crowd, and I love this. The crowd didn't choose Barabbas because they liked him. They chose him because they rejected the truth.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. And we've gotten a lot of comments too about is this Catholics versus Protestant? Um, um, your guess is as good as mine on that. You know, there seems to be, sort of the war of religions within the elite. I don't know. I really don't
I
know.
don't
It's
know.
interesting though. Uh-huh.
That is an interesting point. There's
Mm-hmm.
also something interesting percolating, and that is that Scott
Mm-hmm.
Pressler,
Mm-hmm.
who is the young adult, same generation as Charlie Kirk,
Mm-hmm.
who went in and got all these voter registrations in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
He originally started a cleanup operation in Maryland when people were complaining about that. He's like, well, let's just do something. So he is an activist, he's an organizer. He helped flip Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And now he said he is getting death threats. And he reposted his own death threat. Scott better watch his back, or he'll be joining his friend Charlie Kirk soon. So one of the speculations,
Mm-hmm.
of many, is that Charlie Kirk had turned the youth vote by 9 percentage points. This is true, for a Republican. That had never happened before. It was never predicted to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he said he was spending 100 hours, Charlie Kirk, on campuses, promoting, but listening, and helping people understand what Trump was trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
understand the economic challenges, and swayed that youth vote by 9 percentage points. Scott Pressler doing something similar. And so another speculation, it could be the people behind, the power, that don't
Mm-hmm.
want these swings in the voting population that they
Mm-hmm.
can't control, but that these change agents like Charlie Kirk, Scott Pressler are
Mm-hmm.
doing. And it is impressive. It is almost miraculous. It is hard work. Charlie Kirk said we can always outwork them. And Megyn Kelly made that point, and that no matter what the odds are, we can always outwork them. And they needed to take him off the chessboard. Scott
Mm-hmm.
Pressler, another person who they are targeting to take off the chessboard. So, you know, this is it. Sankt Uger, who is the head of the Young Turks, he was on Tucker Carlson's podcast last night,
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to Charlie Kirk. And he said, you know, when you come to violence, he says, we've always advocated that we are nonviolent, Sankt Uger said. And he said, violence is an admission of surrender, that you can't make
Mm-hmm.
a point, you can't sway people verbally. And so now you have surrendered to the fact that this is all you have left.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it's a defeatist position, and we refuse to do it. He said they debated Charlie Kirk. They were on each other's,
Mm-hmm.
podcasts and live performances.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to help people try to come together in terms of talking, not agreeing, just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I like seeing that. That is what we're advocating too. Let's talk more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's expose positions more. Let's persuade each other more.
Well, they definitely want us fighting. In the news today, this was kind of interesting, but the headline, of course, AP News. So you got to know that when I'm reading a headline. But Trump's threat to target radical left after Kirk killing raises fears he's trying to silence foes. This is the AP. Okay,
Yeah.
the AP is like a gnat
Yes.
on a cockroach's ass. I mean, would I ever believe anything the AP says? But This is their first paragraph. Trump is escalating threats to crack down on what he describes as the radical left following Charlie Kirk's assassination, stirring fears that his administration is trying to harness outrage over the killing to suppress political opposition. You know, with the right and the left working together, which we know they do, and I voting doesn't work. It's completely hijacked, and there's just so many things right now that I hope people are kind of coming to terms with. The number one thing is that both parties are in together. 200, and by the way, hat tip to Mike. He was just telling me that Derek Bros, who I've had on the show, by the way, was posting about the 250 congressmen, senators that just took a trip to Israel together. So. Again, we know who's the real head of this country, and which is just, it's just sickening to me. And the other thing is just keep in mind that they do want the division as a distraction, and that's what I think. I think they want the division and the fighting, and us all going over the details of every nook and cranny of this investigation, so that we're not looking at the bigger things like Palantir and some of these bigger moves that we're about to make on the right with First Amendment, possibly guns, possibly. I mean, we got a lot sitting there.
Absolutely. So. And we're hearing this percolating up that they want to put some kind of impediment on speech, and that it would come from the right because the right is being targeted. And that absolutely is not what the major pundits on the right want. So nobody is advocating that, except you're hearing it percolating. And you would know that politicians would want codes on speech, just like there are in Europe and in England, codes on speech. It's interesting. There's a video that Elon Musk retweeted, and it's the Oxford Union's new president, who is a young black man, wears dreadlocks, very handsome man. He calls the right, he calls people on the right cancers that must be taken out, quote, by any means necessary. And he celebrated Charlie's execution. So we know that this propaganda is continuing. And the question becomes, to what extent are politicians, they want to do something, you know, they're always looking to do something, but also that aligns with their long-term objectives, right? And so that's what we have to be hyper vigilant, that they don't step into this and say, well, we're just going to do this one thing. We're just going to make this one tweak. We don't want that. We want speech as open as it has been. And thank goodness for X, where we're allowed to see, we're allowed to say that certain things we can't. Let me just interject this, because this is the message getting lost. So this was a post by Charlie Kirk. He said, get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, seek true joy. Eventually, we will replace the nihilists. And I know Turning Point's one big message, too, is go back to church. So it isn't just turn to God. It is connect up with the people who share these values and know that we are more than them. We are more than they. And so I love that that message is now getting pushed. I see it, the algorithm is really promoting a lot of the Charlie Kirk shorts, the videos, the clips, and I'm really happy to see that. They didn't come across my feed to this degree as before. So
one thing I am seeing, though, and I'm okay with talking about God, family, those types of things, but you know, this person just wrote in, you know, another quote, where would we be without Charlie Kirk? And it's being turned into God status. And that worries me too on that side of it, because I'm like, what are we doing? I mean, I think sometimes it's being taken to a level that has actually shocked me, because most people aren't, even when they're murdered, they're if that's the case, they're not going to get this kind of stuff happen. I mean, this is like a president died. Like it is crazy out there. I mean, half mast flags, and I mean, we're talking like all across the country, like insane amounts of hero worship going on. It's like, I like that some of the things he said. I've also noticed that he backs the New World Order from time to time. I mean, he was just backing that whole very fake Ukrainian girl on the train right before he was murdered. But right now you can't say that just because people are so insane over worshiping him. And I get so shocked by that because I'm like, why are we in worship status? I think it's great to see things that you align with in values. And I like that about him in certain aspects. But there have been a lot of times where I was like, oh my gosh, wake up, Charlie. The stuff he was backing. And so when Turning Point got that big influx of money from Foster Friess, it just, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff at the root of it, and there's a whole lot of attention being turned to funding it now and getting our youth in it now. And I worry a little bit about the twists and turns, even more twists and turns that's going to take the youth, because it certainly is dialed into them. So I'm actually a little nervous about that.
Absolutely.
A lot of programming.
Well, absolutely. It's interesting that Tucker mentioned that he had a conversation backstage with Charlie about what they were going to talk about before they went on to one of the Turning Point performances, or it may have been Tucker's live show. But he said, I can bring up Epstein, but we can talk about something else because I know that would upset your donors. Tucker said to Charlie Kirk, and Charlie said, say it, just say it, do it.
Yeah.
And
there was some sentiments like that.
Yeah. And so,
to be fair.
I was really happy to hear that.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that he was finally figuring it out on the Israel front, on the government of Israel. I always have to clarify because people get their panties in a wad if I say, Israel. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, can we separate it? So the government of Israel, yes, it's that whole thing by Bibi was very weird when he put that out right as Trump was putting his out, and the numbers, by the way, I get the numbers at 303, and also Kash Patel and that whole press conference with the 33 hours after he gets caught, and the alleged shooter, which isn't it, he's the patsy, and a lot of 33s coming at us. And if you guys know Masonry, and that's why I played that clip with Candace, I thought that was a really strange word to use. Now, Mason can mean builder. It can mean all kinds of things like that, like you're building an entity, okay? But it was just funny to see her add that word in. Is that a message? Or
can you repeat the sentence that she used?
Yes. Let me go back. Here we go. Because I want you to hear this, because it stood out, and I was like, what? Okay, hold on just a second.
Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Yeah, weird, right? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. It was just an odd choice for that word in particular, because people are,
Why did they call themselves Masons?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Well, yeah. Why didn't you just say I was an intricate part of, Turning Point? I mean, I don't know if it was a message, or I don't know if it was
of a certain type of supporter, instead of, I don't know what the supporters are called, pointers, but maybe some of the higher level ones are called Masons, and then that would be significant.
Yeah.
But she is clearly so unafraid, and she said, he was an intimate friend of hers, and I can't imagine what that feels like. We've all had people in our lives who were just so important to us, and then when they're
before they got super funded by Foster, they were good friends before that.
Oh yes.
Just wanted to make that note.
Okay, yeah. And when those people are subtracted from our lives in one way or the other, and he was extremely charismatic. He was a very unique type of leader. The hero worship, he was human, and he was young. He was young. He had all of this understanding and perception. I think he was a voice of a generation, and that's what he tried to be, like a reflection of what people were feeling and thinking. And so in a way, when I hear my kids who were anti Charlie Kirk, he was actually advocating for things that would benefit them, for the economics that would benefit them, but they couldn't hear that message. All they could hear was how horrible he was. I think part of it, if you're secular, how do you know what a good person is? I mean, in Christianity, you study and learn what a good person is through
Yeah.
the values.
Yeah.
But how do you come to that as a secular person?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I think that, LB put on here, he was only 31. It's tough to know all of it by age of 31. Now, I agree with that because it took me into my 40s to figure it out. So I understand that. I can understand that. I think people can be used. I think they seek out people, and if you have the people around you telling you ABC, you're probably going to repeat ABC and not know. And it doesn't mean that you're in on things. It doesn't mean that you understand what you're doing or furthering, the messages that you're putting out. It just means that you're surrounded by people that believe ABC. So I do. There is a component of that with everybody that I try to reserve because it can look like I'm saying everyone's in on it, everyone, but people are used by people that are in on it. So we always have to kind of clarify that too. It's like you don't know who the cogs in the wheel are and you don't know what their intention is. And so maybe he was starting to figure out the Israel owns us. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I think and that was what Candace said, that
mhm,
she'd had conversations with him recently, and he felt under enormous pressure.
mhm,
And Tucker, Megan, or Candace, somebody used the word he felt blackmailed, and like take this or else, take this money or else. So,
mhm.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine, like, you're not allowed to have the voice. And Candace played a video of her and Charlie dancing to Kanye West
Yeah.
Power,
Right.
and it's power what you're allowed to say by yourself, like what
Mhm.
opinions you're allowed to have.
Mhm.
Are you powerful enough to have those opinions?
Right.
So that in the end, are we allowed to be ourselves, have our own opinions? And honestly, I love what Scott Adams said. He said he has almost compassion for these people who have been literally brainwashed. I call it
Mhm.
poisoned,
Mhm.
a behavior like a rabid dog where you're poisoned
Mhm.
by something that you think is real, and now you're living in an alternate reality.
Okay,
That's sad.
let's take a quick call and then I think Melissa's up and thank you, Susan. But let's take a quick caller. Go ahead, caller. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Hold on just a second if you would. I'm sorry. One second. I'm gonna get you on here. I'm gonna get you on here. I forgot to do something. Okay, one second. Hey,
All
look.
right.
Okay, there we go.
Can you hear? Are you there? Okay. So good to be able to talk to you again. It's been a couple of months. I was listening to a podcast today or something. Has either one of you heard of the Ono's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Are you there?
circle? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
The origin is Taiichi Ono is the father of the Toyota production system.
Mm-hmm.
And as practice, he would literally draw a circle on the factory floor, have managers or engineers stand inside it, and then gave them instructions: stay here and watch, sometimes for hours, no walking around, no moving, just observe.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he do this? Number one, focus.
Okay.
Forces you to stop chasing problems and instead see the flow as it really happens.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness. Staying still, you notice waste, inefficiency, or problems that are invisible and passing. And then three, discipline. It teaches patience and humility.
Mm-hmm.
Problems often reveal themselves with time. I'm getting to the point here. This is very relevant to this. Now, how does this circle apply to observing a PSYOP?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in lean manufacturing, you stand still and watch the production line over time. The hidden problems surface. In a PSYOP, you do the same thing, plant yourself, don't react right away, and watch the flow of information that starts to tell a story. And then when you see something start to pop off,
Mm-hmm.
take a step back, be slow to react, watch and observe. It's going to tell you a lot about what's going on. And then he used in the other comments he made, he used the word methodical a couple of times. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to point out that last week you had Rebecca Roth on, and
Mm-hmm.
every one of the books that she wrote about 9/11 had the word methodical in it. So
Mm.
I've really been forced to just stop jumping to conclusions about this whole thing and follow the pattern, stand back and watch and observe and see what happens.
Mm.
And I think then we'll get answers, because we were all duped by 9/11,
Mm.
by the Oklahoma City bombings,
Mm-hmm.
by Iraq in 2003.
Uh-huh.
I think it's about time that we learned from our past mistakes on this as a
Yes.
public,
I'm
and
with
just
you.
start to
Thank
see
you.
it. So
Thank you.
I think it's a good concept, and people look it up. It's really an
Okay.
interesting, a good management concept
You
too.
got
So
it. Thank you.
anyways, all
Thanks
right.
for the call.
Have a good
Appreciate
one.
that. Thank you. Really appreciate that. 435-680-2503. 680. It's on the screen too if you're on YouTube watching live right now. And by the way, Judy Mikovits joins me tomorrow, and Dr. Kirk Moore for a little update. Remember when I told you that you could easily see that they had pre-planned COVID based on some evidence in the Kirk Moore trial, and then it was quickly dismissed? Yeah, that one. And Judy's coming on to give us an update, and so I can't wait to talk to her again. And she was one of the first big whistleblowers of COVID and Fauci, because she worked for him, and he had her thrown in jail. So there's always that. And I can't wait to talk to her tomorrow. But so I'm doing a special Thursday show because next week my my son gets married, and so I am off to do that, and I'm very excited about that. And Susan, anything else? About a minute. Anything else?
I just think that people are waking up. I thought that caller was incredibly wise.
Mm-hmm. That's a good call.
Guys, that the information is just going to flow like from
Mm-hmm.
a fire hose, and
Yeah.
just to stand and watch and figure out the patterns. Look for the patterns. Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Really appreciate you. And you know, it's the messaging. Thank you, Susan. The messaging, everything has been interesting over the last few days on the direction we're going. And so I'd like to get some comments from all of you too, and probably calls on that a little bit later about why. Where do you think this is taking us? Because I think that's a very, very interesting part of all of this. And I just want to make sure that we're really looking at the big picture together, because I know you guys are looking at a whole lot of footage. I am too. And I think it's just really, really, really important to kind of go, okay, why? All right. And I'll take calls after Melissa as well today, because I'm out next week, and I'm sorry I'm out next week because it's crazy news cycle is happening right now. But I also wanted to mention, you guys know I've been taking Cardio Miracle. I've shared that with you because I think most people don't realize, if you know, when you're taking this product, take it twice a day. It makes this huge difference. And I'm here and healthy because of that, because I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. Big stuff happening in my family and all kinds of things going on with the show and new studio. It's just been insane. And I'm telling you, I just don't sleep very much. And I feel good. And so there's a reason for that. The only thing I've changed is Cardio Miracle, and it delivers vitamin D and nitric oxide to the body because those levels go down as we age. And so heart disease, #1 killer in America, and Cardio Miracle's doing amazing things for people. I talk to people all the time, and I have for years because my own father-in-law took it, and my husband, who just swear by it because they're like, you can feel the difference, which I 100% love. So if it's helping heart issues, and that's the #1 killer, then we need to be taking things in this age group. I'm trying to be in our age group, even over the age of like 40, you should be taking this, but twice a day really does the trick. So I also wanted to mention allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate too. So Cardio Miracles, cardiomiracle.com/Kate. The link is on my website, katedalleyradio.com. And then and also allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, because they are, they've got some deals going on right now. You might want to go check them out. And you can get ivermectin and fembendazole. I can't even say it. I give up. I murder the name so often. And you can go get those things to get rid of parasites and all the rest, and have it so that this fall, when you start to get maybe a little ill too, those are the things you should probably be taking. So, all right, Melissa, Midwest Melissa, how are you?
Hey, I'm feeling very Midwestern today.
Are you?
I am.
All right. All
And
right.
if you want to know why I said that,
Yeah.
because it's Wacky Wednesday and I'm bringing the wacky today.
I love this. Okay, let's bring the
Things
wacky.
have been very grim and very dark.
Mm,
So let's just take a breath
okay.
and take a little stroll through history because that's where I go.
Uh-huh.
When, the refuge of history is a great place to go
Mm-hmm.
when things feel heavy
Mm-hmm.
because what you learn this is the first wacky thing I'm going to say.
Okay.
What you learn when you study history is that things have always been worse in other times and in other places, and it makes you grateful that you're not them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean,
just
and
finished
they're
reading-
grateful they're not us because of what we're dealing with. We've got so much brainwashing and so much propaganda. I mean, I feel like we're
Well-
just swimming in a thick lake of it all the time. Oh, anyway,
Brainwashing and propaganda are nothing new, Kate.
I guess.
There's
but
nothing new.
I know.
I
There
just
really
finished
is nothing
reading.
new.
I just finished reading Dan Jones' book on Henry V. And
boy.
Henry V never met a battle he didn't want to fight. Like, and that
Mhm.
meant real fighting with
Right,
like
right.
swords and
Right.
arrows and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, he spent his whole life, he died at like 38 years old or something. And he spent his whole life doing nothing but fighting from the time he was 14 until he was 38. And I was like, well, I'm kind of grateful for my life that I don't have to go out and do that. Anyway,
True.
beside the point.
Right. What we
So-
did was we kind of gave up the notion of hard labor for mental labor because it's mental, right? Everything is mental
well,
gymnastics right now. And when I see what's going on, my view and my picture, it's horrific because we're just not seeing a lot of people out there just aren't seeing the whole thing, and it's really getting a little buggy because people are just falling for the worship of Charlie Kirk, which I like Charlie, had him on the show, nice guy, but the worship level is insanity. And I haven't talked to you on the air
Well,
since that happened. So did you want to
No.
weigh in on that for a second before
I'll-
you launch?
Yeah, I'll weigh in. My thinking right now, it was horrifying and shocking. I saw the video that circulated
Shocking, yeah.
fairly quickly after
Mhm.
the incident happened.
Mhm.
And so I kind of had my own conclusion was like nobody
was.
survives that.
Yeah.
Nobody survives that. And when they came out and said, "Oh, they got him to the hospital and he still had a heartbeat," I was like,
Mhm.
"Nobody survives that." I was a little bit leery of that portion of it.
Mhm.
As for all the rest,
Mhm.
I think what I'm trying to do is to take in the courage that Charlie Kirk had to embrace the message that he had of like, be better people,
Mhm.
go to church,
Mhm.
speak up, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
As far as the investigation and what happened and where the shots came from and who was involved in it, and
Mhm.
is it radical LGBT crazy gangs or was it an inside job or who knows?
Mhm.
And I think the system is now rigged for us to never know those questions.
Hmm.
We will never know for sure. So I'm not going to take up any more brain space. I mean, I'm interested in it and I'm following some of that
Mhm.
just out of curiosity. But as far as how does that impact my life,
Mhm.
I need to, like I said, embrace Charlie Kirk's courage.
Mhm.
And he was courageous. I mean, I am in admiration of someone who's willing to take on all comers and have the answers for them.
Mhm.
And we all have people in our lives that we can impact.
Mhm.
I'm never going to be Charlie Kirk, nor do I want to be Charlie Kirk, but I have people that I'm talking to in my own personal life that I can be more courageous with, that I can speak more truth to, that I can encourage to be better people, that I can even encourage to go to church with me.
Mhm.
And all of those are things that I can do.
Mhm.
So like I said, I'm there's an intellectual curiosity,
Mhm.
but I just don't feel the passion to engage in the who did it stuff, which is
Well-
kind of curious because I love true crime
Mhm.
stuff otherwise, but
I like the
I'm not-
investigative stuff, but I don't know.
I'm not ever going to know.
Look-
And I'm content with saying that.
Right.
we are not ever going to really know what happened.
If I'm looking at big picture and I'm looking at the news coverage, the crazy, the exalting into a sphere of worship, and the focus of everyone and all media and everybody jumping on board and wanting to name airports after him and wanting to and flying him on Air Force Two and having the VP of the United States host his podcast and just go. I mean, I can go on and on and on. When I'm looking at that, then that to me is very, very scary, and because there's always a reason for that. So the reason for that is really the scope of what we need to talk about in this country, because we're not, when I'm seeing it, I'm like, wow, over the top. Wow. So why are they selling us so hard? What do they really want with this? And what is being maneuvered in the background? That's why I started out the show today playing Palantir, because we're not, it's like all other conversations cease. Robert Redford died. Nobody said a word. It was like, I mean, not that that's a big like thing about our lives, but it was just so fascinating to see that everything's kicked out the door. And if you don't worship Charlie, you're a hater of Charlie, and then people will unfriend you. And it's just, it's spun in a crazy land. So
we need to be careful that we don't become the thing that we despise.
Yeah.
We need to be careful that we are not the people who are shutting down free speech on the other side. Which, and I do think there's a difference between free speach and what the response, the people who have, and I put this in air quotes, celebrated his murder. There's a difference between shutting them down and asking them to take responsibility for what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, how old do you have to be before you know that maybe you shouldn't say every thought that hits your brain and put it out there on social media?
Well, I mean, we're about to make, and it looks like they want to put out a national holiday for him. I mean, we're talking hero worship. So
because it's a martyrdom.
Well,
this is
but it's the media that
there's always kind of a religious fervor behind a martyr.
Right. But we've had people die before, and we were not in this crazy frenzy. Like
I don't know.
Where media is exalting it to a level that I've never seen before. And the government is too. So that tells me that liberty is about to go bye-bye, because
I honestly believe that conservatives, people on the conservative side, it's been a slow burn for a long time. And this was just like the
lighting the fuse,
it was. The fuse has been burning for a long time, but I think mostly conservatives, our reaction has been to be quiet, just remain civil. And I think people have done that on the whole.
Yeah.
And I mean, no cities were burned down. No stores were looted over this. And had it happened on the other side, I think that would have happened.
Well, we're not morons.
No.
I mean, that's moronic behavior. I mean, those people that do that, that group of extremists that go around doing that. I mean, you just go, are you even human? Like, what is going on with you? But on the right, the worship and that going on, I'm worried for our right. And I said, we're being moved to the right, and we certainly are in a direction that I'm a little weary about.
Well, and maybe this is the difference in the part of the country we're operating in. I mean, this happened much closer to you. I'm much farther geographically away from what happened. And I also live in the Midwest, where we don't get ruffled over much. So it has been, you know, if I'm engaging on social media, that's a different world than my day-to-day life. But I don't like they're
Yeah, that's a good point, Angel, on StreamYard. No looting or burning down, but we have rights being taken. And I actually think we are going in that direction faster than people want to reconcile.
What Pam Bondi said.
That notion.
What Pam Bondi said about, you know, we're going to shut down, you know, people that are how is that different than putting people out of business that won't bake a cake? You know, people are entitled to have their opinion.
Yeah.
However, people who I do think that that we need a right sizing
Mm-hmm.
here of what people say online.
Mm-hmm.
We should be smart enough to self-police some of that. And I worked
Mm-hmm.
for a school at one time, and I was much more reticent then to offer up my opinions
Mm-hmm.
because I was a teacher and I was teaching history, and it's not my job to propagandize students in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, that seems to be a reactionary sort of thing to say about the current classroom at the university.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of right sizing that needs to be done. But I don't think Charlie Kirk would
Well,
want there to be
mm-hmm.
limits on free speech. I don't think Charlie, not like I can speak for him, right?
Right.
But I certainly don't think he would want gun control
Mm-hmm.
legislation, which is being talked about
Mm-hmm.
as well, as it
Right.
always is. So,
Well, it's it's
everybody just
interesting.
needs to take a breath.
It's
And
interesting that it's Constitution Day. Okay, and I'm looking at the news feed and on Constitution Day, and the government is out there trying to solve the problem of social media and news and on and on and on. It's not the government's role, but we increasingly say, fix it. We increasingly say, we don't want to do anything, have the government do it. And I'm seeing that on the right. So that's what's bothering me, I think, the most. If I was going to have to
well,
lay out like a certain avenue that we're taking, it's like, yeah, Trump, do something. Yeah, government, do something. And I'm thinking the government has no role legally in any of that. So it's
you bring
shocking.
me to one of the things that I've talked with my husband about this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that disturbs me about this whole situation is that we are all completely unwilling to look in a mirror
Mm-hmm.
and ask ourselves, how did we get to this place?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, everybody's looking at the government. Fix it, fix it. The government can fix that.
Mm-hmm.
We need gun control laws. We need
Right.
this or that. And what we actually need is moral, virtuous people. And where does that come from?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from inside our families.
Mm-hmm.
And I could
Mm-hmm.
go on a long time talking about families and the abandonment of our children, the lack of inappropriate education,
Mm-hmm.
moral education, as
Mm-hmm.
well as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not having that conversation. That's very uncomfortable
Yeah.
because we want somebody else to fix. The problem doesn't exist in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
The problem exists out there somewhere else, and somebody else needs to fix that thing out
Yeah.
there. When in reality, we need to be looking at our families and
Mm-hmm.
saying, what is the state of
Mm-hmm.
my family? Am I providing the moral education inside my family that I need to? Am I talking to my kids about the right
Right.
things?
Well, if
What am I doing? Like I said, it's about the people that you know and can influence,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm certain that nobody who wants free speech limits
Mm-hmm.
thinks it's going to apply to them.
Oh, well, if we allow the government to take the helm right now and be in the spotlight as the solver of everything, then we get everything that we deserve because we're asking them to do it
Well,
and
look
we
at
want
what
them to do it.
oh,
Look at my
look at what's
governor.
going
He's
on in
doing that.
England.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there, I feel it was kind of interesting. I watched a little bit of the protests in the UK over the weekend with Tommy Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
and they're taking courage from Charlie Kirk,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the message. Where
Mm-hmm.
we can be more courageous, and we can look at ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
say, how did we get here?
Right. Right.
And I think that's much more of an issue for me personally
Mm-hmm.
than who done it.
Mm.
I don't care.
Well,
I mean, I do care. I care that justice is served. I care about it, but it is not the thing that is the prime mover and
well,
shaker.
I said when this first happened, I think it was like the day it happened or the next day. I can't remember. In an update, whatever. It all flows together in when you're doing like radio and stuff, but podcasting. But I remember saying it at the end of the day, whether he's dead or alive, because I know a lot of people still think that he's alive and very well could be. I'm not saying He's not. I'm just saying that whether he is alive or not, the messaging is all the same. The way they're utilizing this is the same. Whether he's dead or alive. So the lie is the same because they're pointing to somebody that I think did not do it and making him a patsy. And they are, this was an inside job. So if it's an inside job, whether Charlie Kirk himself, like where he's at right now, doesn't matter as much as that matters, because remember, our CIA, our intelligence agencies, they take out a lot of people. And so if we don't recognize that, if people don't start waking up to that, I really do fear what happens next, because I do think something's coming. There was somebody that put something out before September the 10th, and it was that Charlie Kirk was going down, and then December 14th, Trump was going to go down. And so the first one happened. And so they were kind of, I can't remember who it was. Somebody can remind me, but I was kind of, perusing that idea because I had said that last year, a year and a half ago, even. I said, look, they're almost propping it up for something to happen to him because it will provoke us into more action to do things and let the government do what they are going to get away with doing. But at the end of the day, the inside job is the inside job. And if we can recognize that, whether he's alive or not doesn't matter to me as much as recognizing that it was an inside job. Not the patsy.
When you say inside job, what do you mean by that?
I mean the intelligence agencies.
Oh, okay. You don't mean someone inside his organization.
Oh, it very well could have been, and utilized, because I know his security team was switched out a few days before, and that's kind of unusual. So very unusual, actually. And so there is that component. It's kind of like JFK. He was all of a sudden surrounded by Lyndon's people, and all of, they took his jewelry from him and brought him down to the car. They knew full well. And talking to a lot of people that have written a lot of books about the whole JFK thing, that the security team knew. So, yeah, I think they could be co-opted for sure. I even interviewed Clint, the guy that crawled into the limo, but I had another source tell me that he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, and like I said, the thing, all of that aside, we're not going to know. Just like how long we still don't know everything about JFK. So for me, like I said, the whodunit is not as important as what should we be taking from it for ourselves.
See, to me, it's totally different. Like, I think it is I think it's good to know who done it, so we can open our eyes to this cabal, this evil, the people that are really running the show, and it isn't who they put on the stage, but the people that really run the show. If we can get the who done it, people might wake up a little bit more to what's happening. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we're going to have to agree to take different lessons from it. I'm with your caller from the last hour that said, now is the time to kick back and watch for the patterns, watch as it unrolls. But I sincerely do believe that we will not know the answers. We will not get the answers that we want. It is going to be like JFK.
Right.
All I do know is that whoever did it has indeed created a martyr. And there is a tone of religious zealotry that goes with that. Whether that martyrdom will be used for good or evil remains to be seen, and we should watch for that.
So Angel is saying, but Vance called for people to report people. Yeah, that's not good. But Bondi's saying they'll hunt people down. So what are we setting up for ourselves later?
Yeah, that has me much more concerned. That is concerning.
The fallout of this inside job. So there's the inside.
Never let a crisis go to waste works on any side.
Yeah, well, for sure. But look at where our conservatives are taking us. And so when people start to kind of stomach the fact that they are propping up a patsy, which they always usually do, so many false flags that I've been on for 15 years discussing, they always, serve up their patsy tied with a bow, and we're all supposed to believe it, and hook, line, and sinker. And then the fallout of where we're going with this, because if that was Biden saying that, the conservatives would be all up in the night about it, but our conservative base is going, yeah, okay, Vance, yeah, you're right, report people, and yeah, okay, yeah, let's Bondi go after him. But what are we setting up? I mean, we're creating our own demise every day. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, by
but
not
like I
standing
said,
up to it.
I don't know that we're ever going to know.
Who
Uh,
knows?
but we do need to be vigilant for the stuff that we're talking about right now. I
Mm-hmm.
and I think Charlie Kirk, actually, that was his message, wasn't it? We need to
Mm-hmm.
come together and have the dialogue, and we
Mm-hmm.
can talk to one another, and um that's that's harder.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um so yeah, I anyway,
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. I take it or leave it, but
Okay. Thanks
that's
for
kind of
that.
how I feel about it.
Okay. Fair enough. And so with this 15 minutes, because I'm going to take calls after, but where would you like to go with some of the things you've been on top of, like a change of pace for
A
15
change
minutes?
of pace. Yeah,
Yeah.
here we go. I want to talk just briefly
Mm-hmm.
about it would be it's a history topic here, and
Mm-hmm.
the history of North America is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have forever wanted to go to England because I just want to go and see old things. I want to go
Mm-hmm.
see Stonehenge and Newgrange and
Mm-hmm.
some of these places that are crazy old. Well, it's not the right time to go to England right now. So I have begun to look at do we have really, really old things here in the
Mm-hmm.
US,
Mm-hmm.
in the Western Hemisphere? And turns out we do. There's a great book. It's not, I read it when it was hot off the press called 1491. It's now no longer that new.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of debunks with some more up-to-date historical and anthropological and archaeological research what was the situation in the Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's some things that we can use. I know I've talked to my kids about this when they were younger. We've all heard the land bridge theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how North America was populated. People walked across this land bridge from
Mm-hmm.
Siberia.
Mm-hmm.
And so 1491, which was written by Charles C. Mann,
Mm-hmm.
says, hey, wait, let's not go down that rat hole quite so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that new research being done right now, and if you've seen some of the LiDAR scans of
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in South America, they're finding that the population populations may have been in excess of 100 million people.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. In the United States alone, at places like Cahokia, which is right across the Mississippi River from St. Louis,
Mm-hmm.
they are estimating between 60 and 80,000 people in the city there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a mound builder city.
Mm-hmm.
So how old is it? Nobody really knows. And I have just been thinking and looking at some things.
Mm-hmm.
How many and I live in the Midwest. So when European settlers first came into the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
they found mounds everywhere. And I became interested. I visited a place over in Ohio called Serpent Mound,
Mm-hmm.
and which is an effigy mound of a snake eating an egg. It's a giant earthwork, but an effigy mound is a mound in the shape of an animal. So it's the shape of a snake eating an egg.
Mm-hmm. Always a
And there's
snake at the root of something. Go ahead. It's
well,
always a snake.
this particular one, if you want to see effigy
Mm-hmm.
mounds,
Mm-hmm.
the most effigy mounds in the US are located in Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find foxes and bears and
Mm-hmm.
fish and elk, not so many snakes. But
Mm-hmm.
this one particular place, Serpent Mound, is a snake. But I remembered when I was a little kid
Mm-hmm.
that they told us, we visited there when I was a child, and they had a little museum and they showed us a cross-section diorama that showed the bodies that were found inside the mounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not inside the effigy mound, but there were other mounds in a
Mm-hmm.
complex nearby.
Okay.
My husband and I just visited there recently, and that little museum is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they never tell you that there were any bodies found there in in burial mounds. They have nothing to show you that there were grave goods that were found there. And I found this really interesting. I'm reading another book by a guy named Richard J. Dewhurst, who's talking about evidence of giants in America, like giant skeletons. And one of the things he said was that at Serpent Mound, in some of these burial mounds, they pulled out skeletons of people who were like 7 and 8 feet tall. And I'm like,
Well,
seriously?
hmm.
Where did that information go?
Yeah. A lot of things have been hidden in history.
Well,
Oh, my
so that
technology, everything.
we can. Here's the bottom line on mounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping to go to Cahokia sometime in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Nice.
dying to go there.
Nice.
Not too far away, and I'm
Yeah.
dying to go there. Anyway, Cahokia was the largest city, they believe,
Mm-hmm.
in North America.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knows how old it is. They
Mhm.
found piles of skeletons there as well. There are claims that were made in newspaper publications at the time that
Mhm.
these were being dug
Mm-hmm.
that said they also found giant bodies there, as well as others that were not large scale size.
Mhm.
But Cahokia was huge, 60 to 80,000 people. There's other places. There's a place called Poverty Point in Alabama that also is a city of maybe 60,000 people. How many mounds were there
Mhm.
in North America? They estimate now upwards of 500,000 mounds.
Wow.
They're found in
It's a lot.
every state of the Union. Now, I come from the part of the country where it was saturated with mounds.
Mm-hmm.
They are no more. They were flattened and dug over long, long, long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you look, the more I have come to see that there are incredible intersections between what was found here
Mhm.
in North America and what is in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
like Neolithic standing stones,
Mm-hmm.
and astronomical alignments, these
Mhm.
huge cities. Why do we not know that there were cities of that size in North America?
Yep.
Well, that
Mhm.
brings us to a famous guy,
Mm-hmm.
John Wesley Powell. You know him, right?
Yes.
You live nearby
Mm-hmm.
the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
John Wesley Powell was hired by the Smithsonian because of his knowledge of the American West and
Mhm.
his knowledge of Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
He was hired by the Smithsonian, and he is responsible for something that at the Smithsonian they call the Powell Doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And Powell apparently wrote a paper and said, number one, we will discuss Native American populations on the basis of evolution only.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no discussion of other contact with other places, no Europeans, no Asians, nobody else was here.
Mm-hmm.
This was all it was all normal evolutionary development. And part of the reason he believed that absolutely no evidence of
Mhm.
pre-Columbian contact.
Mm-hmm.
And he also believed that the reason for that was because Native Americans were simply not intellectually capable of it. It was a very kind of racist sort of thing to think.
Well, they also say that we were too stupid to count the flu victims in 1918, so they have to correct us and
Okay.
triple and quadruple the number. So they do resort to we were either too stupid to think or we didn't know how to count.
Well-
to correct history. It's always like their vehicle to
Well,
say
so what we're kind
make
of left
changes.
with,
Mhm.
and that the Powell Doctrine at the Smithsonian has hung on and hung on
Mm-hmm.
out of the 19th century, well into the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And there are those people out there who believe that the Smithsonian has deliberately suppressed
Mm-hmm.
evidence and information of
Mm-hmm.
contact, pre-Columbian contact with others.
Mm-hmm.
From
Yeah.
And what I will tell you,
Mm-hmm.
from just, I mean, I'm not vastly educated, just interested, is that the mound builders for sure had vast trade networks. It would not shock me at all to know that they were trading with people outside the hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
If you can build a boat, you can go anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a fascinating look
Mm-hmm.
um, at American archaeological history.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about what's going on in South America. The book that I talked about, 1491,
Mm-hmm.
has got some incredible information about the ways in which Native Americans were managing their environment. They were growing nut trees in the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different way. It's not a European way of managing the environment.
Right.
It's a different way.
Johnny says mounds go all the way back to Egypt. It's sun worship, which is evil, Lamanite stuff. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well,
Um,
they have found if you look
Mm-hmm.
at the archaeological history in Europe,
mm-hmm.
you will find henges, you'll find standing stones.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long ago, my husband and I visited a place here in Indiana. It's a state park called
Mm-hmm.
Mound State Park. And we walked in. I had just been watching a whole video that was talking about the archaeology of Stonehenge, of all
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked in and we got their little pamphlet that showed us the layout of the mounds inside the park.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I showed my husband and I said, that's a henge. Why are we not calling this a henge? Just like they
Interesting.
would if it was Europe.
Yeah.
No, they call it a ceremonial platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we don't have any evidence. These people left no written records. We don't know that this is a ceremonial platform. We don't know what they used it for. So why do we call it that?
Right.
It would be better
Mm-hmm.
to call it a henge
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it's literally the exact same shape
Mm-hmm.
as what you would find
Mhm.
anywhere in England or in Ireland or even maybe in northern France, which is just fascinating to me because by the use of vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
we are separating North America from anything happening anywhere else in the rest of the world. If we call it here a ceremonial platform, then it's not the same as a henge.
Mm.
You have to have the eyes to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that I have.
One of our
extraordinary-
callers is saying, please have her check out Wayne May. I don't have my glasses on. Wayne May and his work. Have you ever heard of Wayne May?
I have not, but I will
Okay.
certainly do that.
All righty then. Yeah. I don't know if I have or not. I've read a lot of stuff, so I'm not quite sure if I attribute it, whether it's his stuff or not. So I'll have to go
Well,
look.
there was Richard Dewhurst in his book about giants
Mm-hmm.
cites newspaper articles from every state in the Union
Mm-hmm.
where they were digging up giant skeletons.
Yeah.
Now, what he says is that the Smithsonian said to all the people that were doing this, send them back, send them to the Smithsonian, and now suddenly they don't know where they are. The Smithsonian has denied this forever.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have giant skeletons. If we did, surely we would tell you that because it would be an amazing thing.
Right.
And it would be. And
Mhm.
I want to believe that they don't, although it was news to me that the Smithsonian has in their collection over 30,000
Mm-hmm.
skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a Raiders of the Lost Ark sort of thing? They don't even know
Yeah.
what they have.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Let's take a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead. You're on with Melissa.
Yeah, Kate, can I address something that you guys were talking about last hour
Sure.
or not?
Of course. Go right
Okay,
ahead.
you were talking about the Charlie Kirk situation.
Yes. Go right ahead.
Okay, all right. Kate, there's I sort of disagree with your guest on that. I agree more with you on the
Mhm.
sentiment,
Mhm.
but I don't think you
Where'd you go?
have you.
For some reason, you're cutting in and out. Are you you're probably on a cell phone. Are you driving? Arr. You know what? Call back. I'm going to hang up. Call back. Yeah, it cut out anyway. I don't know if you guys could hear that. I'm sure he's going to call right back. So, I do want to hear what he has to say too. And I know he's going to call back in just a second here. Okay, here we go. All right. Go ahead, caller.
Is that better,
That's
Kate?
better. Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. like I said, I have a different take than your guest
Okay.
on the Charlie Kirk. No, there is a lot going on here. In fact, this is a seminal point in American history, in my view. But I don't think, Kate, by the sounds of it, even on some of your comments, you have not yet seen the Rents video posted yesterday.
Which video? I've seen a lot.
The Rents, RENSE.com. You know Jeff Rents.
I do. I do
Okay,
personally.
he is-
Yep.
Oh, I kind of thought that. Kate, listen, yesterday, it's not a matter of, is this for real? You know, everyone has seen, everybody and their dog has got a video on Charlie Kirk and the shooting. No, this is the real deal. It's 9 seconds. It's top of the page. It's a matter of Jeff and his investigators IDing this guy, getting an ID. I had never heard myself before of the Chicago Palm pistol. But in the short article that accompanies this video, he will show and demonstrate by piece what a Chicago Palm pistol is. Then he asks you to stop reading at that point and go on to the 9-second video. At the 5-second mark, once you see it, Kate, you cannot unsee it. This is the real deal. We have caught the guy. It's a matter of who he is. And you put that together with the left and the genuine left and the genuine right now, Max Blumenthal on the left, and people like Jeff Rents, and of course, increasingly.
Is
Yes?
Rents saying that the alleged shooter is the shooter?
Yes, he is.
Ah.
In fact, it is in sync. It is in sync with the body. I hate to be graphic, but I won't be graphic, other than the fact that when Charlie fell off of that chair, it is when this guy's fingers move. Again, once you see it, it'll fall into place. In fact, you know, Jeff, his question after that was, any doubts? It's just a matter of identifying this guy and put that together with the plane. Derek Maxfield, owner of the plane that shut its transport off a half an hour after leaving the Orem airport. That's what we're looking at here. So when you have people on the right, like Candace Owens and increasingly Tucker, talking about the threats that poor Charlie got since last June as he's shifting. Candace calls it a spiritual transformation. It's all of that, Kate, and this is what we have here. And I believe this is why it has not gone viral. It should have by now. Jones won't touch it.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, yeah,
Thank you.
I'll check out. I'll check it out. Derek Maxwell, the guy with the plane. It was interesting because the People magazine, everyone kind of got on this article and said Derek is just this guy that owns Unique and in Utah and had nothing to do with anything. But I did look into his past and he did work for 2 CIA fronts. So I'm just telling you. Yeah,
You
no.
know, that's
Which kind
one
of
of the
sucks.
things.
So who knows, right? Because, you know, he said it was perfectly legal to turn off his transponder and yada, yada, yada. But when I looked at his past, I'm like, interesting, you know? So anyway.
That is one of the things that has bothered me about this was the airplane and how he got back to St. George so quickly.
Well, yeah. And the fact that there's no video showing him casing the joint to even figure out where to be and trying and the nonsense of our governor's comment the other day where it was so nonsensical that I don't even know what to say at this point. I mean, he went up on the building and he changed clothes and then I'm just like, and then he went down and then he changed clothes again. And you could even tell when the governor was saying this, he didn't even believe it. So I was just like, what the hell is going on? Anyways, any last thoughts, Melissa,
Well,
before I
yeah,
take callers?
Well, I'll leave you with this. It's just a thing to think about. When Abraham Lincoln was president, he visited Niagara Falls. And this is the quote from his speech. He said, "When Adam first came from the land of his maker, then as now, Niagara was roaring here. The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now." So
Yeah.
what did Abraham Lincoln know that has now completely fallen out of our national historical conversation? It's just
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And the Smithsonian, it's controversial for sure. But
I
think-
remember having investigator Dave on. We talked about mounds quite a bit, actually. It was kind of fun to realize because it's so part of our history and part of now that you can go see it. People just still don't. They just turn a blind eye to it. They just, I
There's
don't
a
know.
lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of mounds that are even now not protected
Yeah.
by
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, if it's on my property and I want to bulldoze it down, I could.
Right.
So I'm putting off my trip to England, and I'm going to invest a little more closer to home. Go see the
Okay.
effigy mounds in Wisconsin. Go see Cahokia in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Ohio, see some stuff there.
All
It'll
right.
be an amazing trip.
Thank
And
you. I really appreciate it. Thanks. It was nice to get kind of a little breather from all this stuff.
I hope so.
No, I really do. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Melissa. Midwest Melissa. And of course, I'm going to take phone calls. And so, of course, you can call up, whatever you guys want to do. And a big thank you to Melissa for coming on, of course. Look, there's just so much here. I'll take callers because I feel like we should. And the reason I'm staying later this week, obviously, is because of the news cycle and what's happening. So I've been asked, how long is today's show? Well, it is what it is, I guess, because I really do want to field out some of your thoughts. 680-2503. 680-2503. I feel like it's really important to do that. So, all right, I'll take the first caller. You're up. Go right ahead.
Yes. So first thing in response to Melissa, what's that old Japanese maxim? See no evil, say no evil, hear no evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mantra of a person that wants to be a slave. You've got to investigate crimes of this magnitude, not the crime, just the shooting, the assassination. Is where they're taking us. Everybody, they're taking us to tyranny.
Yes,
that's what we need to be.
Let me say one thing though before you go on, and that is when somebody wants to talk about the good things somebody did, I'm okay with that. I'm always okay with that. We should always be okay with that. And if somebody wants to talk about that, and it kind of helps people to, see some of the good, great. There was some good there. So there was a lot of messages that he put out that I actually really liked. If you're talking about Charlie, so it's okay to talk about those things. It doesn't mean that you're not okay. You're not even addressing at all what happened. I feel like it needs to be a little balanced. I mean, you can also say nice things, address.
Yeah,
those.
let me address that because he did say a lot of right things.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't take on a constitutionalist as anybody.
No, but I mean,
but the point I'm going to make is he could be sincerely saying those right things, or it could be a wolf in sheep clothing saying those right things. Remember, wolves in sheep clothing are saying a lot of right things. The Antichrist, when he comes, is going to say a lot of right things. So that's a question.
And that we don't know. So that's why I kind of give it the benefit of the doubt. And he was
only
only
a real
31 years old.
He lied.
So.
He lied constantly about Trump. He lied constantly, and I can back that up. We could go back and look at his
he might have believed. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I mean lies. Provable lies beyond a reasonable doubt. Falsehoods. But anyway, back to my points here. Red flag advocate Bundy. I want to give a quote that she had here, and then what did the fellow say? Vance is saying we're going to go to the door and hunt you down. What we're seeing is unadulterated tyranny being proposed here. And one of the things, here's a quote from her. She says, "There's free speech and there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society, we will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech." So hate speech is an abomination. It's tyrannical laws. What they're saying is that you have hate. All of us have hate or emotions in us. So we're all potential criminals in their eyes. And you can't measure hate. You can't go in the body. So they could just make up. This, and of course, it's collectivization too. There's no individual rights in collectivization because they're saying you're going after a tribe or a group and so forth. So then the collectivization is really bad about that. But a big point here is that. The other thing about Pam, did you know she actually said a day or two ago that we're going to go after print shop owners. She didn't use those words, but she said that's what she said. If a print shop will not print a flyer for Charlie, like for a vigil or something like that, we are going to go after them. Punish them.
Oh my gosh.
That's the Colorado homosexual cake thing. So we're really moving to tyranny. Right now, what we've seen is really on the free speech side that they're going after us. But I want to mention one more fact about evidence. The evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt. They're lying to us about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And back to that. Probably the last time we'll talk about it. Back to that camera recording of the supposed Robinson running across that roof and jumping down and so forth. Now, he was apparently an FBI agent or a contractor with the FBI, because if you look at the video, you'll see the emblem of the FBI on it. Mm-hmm. What is the FBI doing at a little talk for somebody at a college, small tiny college?
Yes.
Yeah, and what are they? But this is the bigger point.
It's a great point.
And what is the FBI doing there anyway? Mm-hmm. If I was a chancellor there, I would not allow the FBI on, because they have no more authority than the military of Red China or Mexico federales to be there. Mm-hmm. And the Constitution gives the federal government no policing authority at all. But the point here, this is my biggest point, is what was that man filming? Mm-hmm. He couldn't film the event because he couldn't see it from there. He couldn't.
You mentioned this yesterday, I think.
Yeah, but here's a point. There's another point here.
Okay.
So what is he filming? Mm-hmm. Basically, it's just the top of a roof where a sniper could see Kurt and could shoot him. Mm-hmm. So he's filming a roof. Now, if you have somebody that's shooting into your home, both the front of the house and back, and the bullets are going right through the walls and right through the windows, and your family's there, and they're going to die eventually if they keep this up. And you call the police. Does the police say, "Okay, we're going to come over and we're going to film it"? They're murdering you. Mm-hmm. No, they're going to. Police or law enforcement is to stop and prevent you from being hurt or killed. Mm-hmm. So what did they do? They filmed a roof where a sniper could be, and filmed him leaving. But if you had one agents are trained to shoot. Mm-hmm. I actually toured the FBI building 50 years ago, mm-hmm. and went through some lectures and things, and I saw where they were practicing. All their agents are well trained in
Mm-hmm.
firearms, handguns and rifles.
Okay.
If they put that same fellow on the camera on top of the roof, mm-hmm. he could almost certainly 99% stop anything. Mm-hmm. But they didn't put the agent to stop it. They put the agent to film it.
Well, yeah, and they're also saying it's just cameras on the buildings that caught the footage. So
yeah, but this camera was being moved. Mm-hmm. When the fellow jumped off, then the camera moved. When he was walking down the sidewalk, it was being moved all the way. It zoomed in and zoomed out. So there was evidence that
mm-hmm.
it had to be. And there was other things moving, so the camera wasn't based on just his motion.
Okay.
It's
a fair point.
The parking lot, the last thing. The parking lot right in front of that building, nobody was going to it. So if he had time to go up there and change his clothes mm-hmm. and take apart a very difficult gun to take apart, mm-hmm. he should have had a picnic back so he could have had a whole picnic. But if he had time to do that, people probably would have got parked in that parking lot, since it's very close. There's a mm-hmm. chance you had to have a permit. That was a very close parking lot. Nobody was fleeing to that parking lot, to those cars. It was full of cars.
Yeah, that's so very, very true. Thank you for the call. Really, I do appreciate all the points. Thank you. They were good. Sure. 435-680-2503. 435-680-2503. Also, by the way, the ebooks are for sale, and they are at katetalks.myshopify.com. And not only does this help fund the show, but it also will give you some fantastic ebooks, which I love. So it's putting what we talk about, what we do on the show, in print. So I'd really appreciate that. And they're affordable, totally affordable. But please share the info with people. All right, caller, go right ahead.
Yeah, Kate, I spoke to you a bit earlier. If I could just flesh out one more point.
Okay.
Your guest did say something, though. Mm-hmm. She said that they're going over the top. You backed her up on it. They're going over the top with all this praise for Charlie. But the they the neocons, the people that are being accused of perhaps killing Charlie, being really accused insinuated by Candace Owens herself, and to some extent Tucker, although he hasn't accused that directly. He did say that Bill Ackman, a billionaire Jew that was involved in the Hampton meeting there on August 4th with Charlie Kirk to straighten out Charlie Kirk and say, stop talking about the genocide and all this, it all ties to them that are using the death of Charlie. What an irony if they did kill him, that they're using his death to advance their tyranny, like your previous caller.
See, I don't think it's
pointed
irony.
out.
I don't think it's irony. I think it's a plan. I mean, it's what they want to do. Yeah.
Thanks for filling that out. And therefore, what's really going on right now, what we need to do, and I say we, the truth seekers, led by people such as you, Kate, it's the Jeff Renses. Again, this video that you're going to look at, or you said you would later, the 9-second video on Rense.com at the top, this video is the game changer. I've listened to you. I've listened to Alex. I listened to Judge Napolitano. And these are great things. But now we have a killing that was likely done by a foreign government. Even Steve Bannon is making such hints. Is he starting to shift like Charlie did, and in the way of Candace Owens? So what we're seeing right now is the genuine right wing, if you will, with people like you. I don't mean to label you as such, but I mean the truth seekers that are trying to. America is occupied. The government is occupied, and we have to decouple that occupation before we can get back to a legitimate left-right debate, as it was in the days of John F. Kennedy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the call.
Kate.
Appreciate the call. I think the guy's a patsy. I think that if you look at the Greater Zion Project, that the deep state would just love to have happen, where Israel expands the territory and the U.S. and Israel are persecuted by the rest of the world. If you're trying to understand kind of where the Israel conversation is going, I feel like you probably should look into that as far as that goes. And I'm kind of speaking to everybody right now. It's the Greater Zion Project, because we're part of that project. And so if you wonder why certain people are sort of like coming out and talking about Israel the way they are, and certain people aren't, and things like that, I think when you look into that project, I probably should just do a whole podcast on it. Yeah, I probably will. That you start to get a feel for where it goes. You know, what is the idea, you know, behind some of the things that are going to happen. And there is going to be a shift in the U.S. and Israel being lumped into one and being blamed for a lot of things and sort of things happening on that front. All I'm saying is just go look at that. So there's a lot there. So the Greater Zion Project. And I can see us kind of falling into that because I think, you know, if I could look back on 15 years from now, like 15 years ago, sorry, I'm tired, 15 years ago, I couldn't mention the word Israel. I can now, and I can say the obvious, right? I can say the obvious about them. I do believe that the Mossad and CIA are always together. They're a packaged duo. Okay, they don't work without each other. I really, they participate in a lot of false flags together. So we are one on that front. But if you are kind of wondering, like, okay, so somebody's speaking out, is Candace going to get knocked off because she's talking about Israel? She might not, just because the way the project goes in the future, it's where we are villainized around the world for this relationship. So I just kind of wanted to interject that, since I think it's kind of an interesting piece of this when you're trying to figure it out. So, and when people say, well, Israel did it, I'm like, well, you mean Israel and us? Like, because we are a package duo. So, and I do think somebody had posted, maybe it was Carla on StreamYard, posted that there's a lot of rabbits to chase on purpose, and I do believe that. I do believe they put up a lot of rabbits to chase, and so information's going to be trickling out from a lot of disinformation artists and people, even I think that we actually like, that we don't realize are on the take, that we'll spin out little pieces and bits of info. And so if you're asking me, I don't trust hardly anybody, not after being in the media for 15 years from what I've seen. I don't trust hardly anybody. And even the bigger the audience, I don't trust them. So I'm just kind of letting you know that I'm always dissecting what they're putting out, like really dissecting it. And it takes a lot of time. But I really appreciate all of the different takes, because this is, I think things are extremely scripted. The over the top, I don't mind saying, gosh, it's really sad that somebody just died and was murdered. Okay. If that's the case, right? If they're really murdered, you would want to be like, oh, that's a miss, that, we're going to miss this person in the media or whatever. And, it doesn't matter who it is, right? Or, the people that you like, not the mainstream. You probably could care less, but on the alternative, right? And so this, though, is different. Don't you feel that? You got to feel that. This is way different. Okay. This is like a status reserved for a king. So I'm like, this is very interesting territory that we're getting into. So what are they doing on the back end? Because this isn't right. It doesn't feel right. It smells off. It's just something's wrong. And the worship aspect of this, and where we're going with free speech and guns. If I didn't know that tranny bill wasn't on the table, I might not jump there. And say, oh my gosh, you guys, what are we going to do on the right that is just going to be horrific to the future of us as a people? What are we doing on the right? Because if you actually go back in history, I know that the left is more visual about it and just kind of gross, to be honest. And there's just so many leftists that I just find so unappealing. They're just so gross. And uneducated, but I don't mean to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm tired, so I shouldn't even be talking. But when I look on the right, actually, when you go through history, we lose a lot more liberty on the right than we do on the left. But we think it's happening on the left. Nope, not really. When they put through their wars, and when we did Iraq and all of that, and 9/11, it's on the right. We have a right on the right. That's why I said 2 years ago, we're moving back to the right. They're going to strengthen the right because they want to get a whole lot of stuff done. I'm looking at you, Palantir. I'm looking at you, digital currency. I'm looking at you, war. I'm looking at you, civil war. They would love to get that going. So I think that because remember, the answer to the crazy is going to end up being digital currency, transparency. It's almost like they want a lot of stuff to come out so that they can serve up their solution to us. They've got that solution just sitting there, just like they had the Patriot Act sitting there. It was sitting there, waiting patiently. So I do feel that sometimes we're kind of missing that big picture in this. Like, what are we doing on our right that's so destructive? And I'm a conservative to the bones. I am a constitutionalist to the bones. I love this country and I love this Constitution. And I love those that speak up for it and have courage. I will say, though, that the party's being so hijacked, so incredibly hijacked. They're so criminal organizations from the top down. And I am telling you that they are hijacking in such a blatant way right now. And everyone is turning to this whole, we can't say a bad word about anybody. We just can't go there. People have a hard time with recognizing that this inside job stuff happens all the time. It's constant. And I know because we're following it all the time. Think about what you were told about Ukraine in the beginning. And now you know more about Zelensky, right? And then think about what you were told about Syria. Think about what you were told about COVID. Think about what you were told about 9/11, Oklahoma, all the different people they've murdered, all the different cases, Waco. Waco. So think about all the lies. And so to think for a second that this isn't being lied about, are you kidding? This is on the national stage, honey. This is being lied about. Whenever something's on the national stage, you're going to see a big fat lie. a big fat lie. And that's why from the beginning, I wasn't just speculating, I was actually going off history. So I can't find a time when the government's actually been honest with us and motive free. That could be a good bumper sticker. I can't find a time. What does that tell you when all I do is study history? I'm like, this isn't looking good for us. So when anything hits the national stage, you know something's wrong. If it doesn't hit the national stage, probably happened. Hits the national stage, big fat lie. So there we are. Boy, I do appreciate you guys. Listen, Judy Mikovits tomorrow, Dr. Kirk Moore. I really appreciate you guys showing up. I really do. Please send the link on all the social media so people know I'm back. There's a lot of people out there that do not know I'm back. They don't know I can take calls. They don't understand where they can find me, and I feel so bad about that. And I did not expect that this summer. So being censored off radio. So please let people know, because it really is helpful. And I will take comments and callers every time I'm on. So I want this to be a forum where everyone can speak out, because I really do value your input. I mean, I'm always thinking about what you're saying. And I do look at your text messages, by the way, 435-680-2503. I usually do. I look at, like, when I get a whole bunch, I'm looking at them after the show. I try to do what I can during, but I got a lot going on here. So I really appreciate you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. Find out why I say that on the website, katedalleyradio.com. And I'm just trying to keep a level head and logic and, all those good things, so that we can finally, get people to wake up to what's actually going on. The government says it, probably a lie. The media is saying it, probably a lie. So if you're starting with that, it is not suspicious. It's just truthful and factual based on history. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys.